All right, we are back after a blistering game one of the 10th event, 7-point old school Singleton finals. I am Brian Weissman. I'm here joined by my good friend Nate Prodzik. And we just watched one pretty frantic barn burner of a game. Nate, what did you think of that last game?
Yeah, I think that actually illustrated the biggest problem that the green-red deck is going to have, which is that the white creatures are all designed to be in creature combat. So the red green deck has to be bigger. That's their only defense against that sort of thing. And once that creature enchantment showed up on the side of the white player on DFB's side, well, it was pretty much it for the red green deck. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out in the next one, whether or not the green-red player can get his big creatures online or keep the white creature suppressed with his red removal before the enchantments hit.
Yeah, that's a really interesting observation that I hadn't really thought about. Is the fact that Dave's creatures, a whole bunch of them, are specifically designed for combat, and that's sort of the way that white defines itself as a color, at least in this era it does. White has sort of drifted into other themes over time, and of course everybody thinks of white as the best removal color in old school. But really, with the introduction of Fallen Empires and the sets right around it, all of these extra banders and first strikers and stuff really means that the white just wants to be pushing aggressively into the red zone repeatedly, and green and red's creatures, while they can present more robust bodies, are all kind of interchangeable, and none of them are really exceptional with the exception of maybe the ability to regenerate or pump or something. And as we mentioned before, Simon opted to not even run with the Uthden Troll, which is one of the rare regenerators in red, and can really find himself on the back foot and at a big creature-based disadvantage if Dave is able to pump his creatures up via one of his 3 different crusades. And of course, that's counteracted by the fact that Simon can draw a preponderance of red burn and burn away Dave's early threats and then just gain the upper hand with bigger monsters and then win the game from there. But he was clearly, obviously, unable to do that in the last game, and Dave took it in pretty short order. So we're going to be moving into game 2 right here in a second, and I'm sure that Simon is very, very happy to be going first. Doesn't look like either player. Simon, I believe, has already kept. Dave is just completing his shuffle, and we'll go from there. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1 so that Nate and I can sync up our videos, and we will begin. So game 2 coming up in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so they are looking at their hands. You can see Dave there. Simon's actually been looking at his 7 for quite some time while Dave was still finishing his shuffling.
And it looks like he's keeping all 7, which is definitely going to help.
Oh, it looks like Dave actually mulligan. So Dave is actually going down to 6. They're playing, despite it being old school, everybody's playing the London mulligan. And turn 1 forced, but no turn 1 drop, met by a Tundra Wolves. So there's first striker in play, and Argothian Pixies. Got a little guest popping in for a second here. This is because the game, okay, so Andy jumped to the side. Argothian Pixies, yeah, as good as it is against lots of stuff, cannot stand up to a first striker.
Yeah, exactly the problem that I was noticing after game 1. And ultimately, you know, he really, the green-red player really wants to be pointing burn at face, right? Doesn't really want to be removing creatures unless he's getting 2-for-1s like a skipped fireball or something.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Obviously, those X spells are really at their best when they're just dealing huge chunks of your opponent's life total. And Argothian Pixies comes in. What do you think about the decision not to block it there with a 1-1?
I think that's correct. The Samite Healer is a pretty powerful effect. If anyone who's ever drafted that kind of effect knows how dominant it can be on the battlefield, especially in a creature-based attrition battle.
Totally.
Chaos Orb's very strong.
Yeah, and particularly against red-green, right? Red-green really just combat tricks and burn, and Samite Healer can really complicate things, particularly with cards like Pyrotechnics and Fireball. You have to just move way more damage around than you really want to. It looks like he's flipping Orb at a forest. What do you suppose that's targeting? Oh, he's going after basic planes. Very interesting. That's a big gamble. I mean, Orb is an extremely powerful and potent effect, one of a kind, and is one of his ways to deal with Crusade-style threats as well. He does not have Tranquility, so by going after a planes, either he's got a good read on Dave right now, and he just assumes, interesting, Tundra Wolves is hanging back too, and Samite Healer attacking him, but he's got a second planes. What do you think about the decision to use Orb that early on a land without even getting any more information other than the mulligan?
I think we're going to see a Stone Rain effect here. I mean, that's the only way that.
Oh
Oh,
wow,
I see.
what a punish. What a punish
I
for the
see.
attack from the Samite Healer. Just as I was talking about how it can complicate
Wow.
splitting damage, his decision to attack with Samite Healer just got him basically blown out by the fireball. Now this Pixie's attack unimpeded, but look, replaced by Preacher.
Oh,
An absolute
this.
powerhouse.
Yeah, that's amazing. Both of them. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to come to regret that Chaos Orb. I assumed it meant that he had a more LD because that's the only way I would want to, utilize such a flexible card like that.
Totally. With his only way to
I
kill off Angelic Voices or Jihad or Crusade or Sarah.
Yeah,
And look at this. I mean, basically, Preacher, at least he has a flyer, right? So if he taps Preacher, of course, he's going to give him the Pixies since it doesn't fly.
right.
And that allows his 2/2 flyer to attack unimpeded. Oh, he's just going to wait, it looks like.
Interesting.
That bizarre.
Well, now he knows what he's getting.
Yeah. Oh, and his own Chaos Orb.
Oof, brutal.
But there is 2 mana untapped right now on Simon's side, which means that he could potentially be holding a Shatter, and it doesn't make the use of the Chaos Orb automatic. But before any,
Ah,
yeah, for people who aren't in the know, Chaos Orb is a unique effect in the format. In fact, I believe the only artifact in all of Magic that can be essentially countered or stifled with instant speed artifact removal. The only thing that can actually do that, because the Chaos Orb, based on the current errata in Old School, says that the orb, when it resolves, has to be on the battlefield. And if you shatter or disenchant or crumble or even hit it with your own orb while it's in the process of being activated before resolution, it will in fact prevent the effect from happening. So you have to be a little bit wary about the timing of it. And if you notice, Simon had a red and a green untapped, which means that if Dave had opted to use Chaos Orb and Simon had Shatter, he could stop the Chaos Orb. But it looks like we're going to see right now whether that's a thing. I expect that Chaos Orb is going to be activated right now.
yeah, it's so interesting. I guess the thing that most attract or people would find interesting about the orb is the flip mechanic, but I actually think it's the shatter mechanic that's
It is.
most
Oh, and is that a
interesting.
miss? It looks like he designated a planes.
Wow.
Oh, well,
Is he going to accept that?
I guess he is going to accept it. It looks like maybe the corners of the sleeve. Overlapped. He was certainly targeting that planes, and it looked like he barely clipped it on the corner. But of course, Dave can see it a little bit better. And this format is played because it's remote and it's a casual format. It's played as an honor
Yeah.
system. You can't really vet it. You kind of just got to give your opponent the benefit of the doubt. But look at this. The Argothian Pixie is now held at bay by the Preacher. And Urnam Jin, as strong as that is, can't really attack.
Right, or he's just throwing things into the grist mill that is the preacher.
Exactly. And Nate, you and I have extensive experience with the card Vidalcan Shackles in Commander. We play it in, I would say, 3/4 of our decks at least. Pretty much any deck with more than 7 islands, I think, meets the
Right.
standard for playing with Vidalcan Shackles. And you can put your opponent in this just impossible position where they can't attack or block because you own their creature. So as powerful as Urnam Jin is here, he cannot attack with it due to the fact that the Preacher is holding his creature. He's got to get rid of that Preacher right now. How many what do you think? What do you think
Sure, it's a
Simon is
forest
looking to
farm
draw right now? Yeah.
preacher, but yeah, once again, he's yeah, boy, he's
Oh,
yeah,
what a
that's exactly the card I was going to
back-breaking effect!
Looking for pyrotechnics to get
Holy
out of this.
moly! Yeah, perfect card. Another blowout,
Right.
2-for-1 from the red removal. This is really how the red-green deck can excel in this matchup. Basically, if he draws removal for Dave's good utility creatures, and Dave is not able to build great board presence, he's just so vulnerable to these red cards. And at this point, Dave does not have a lot of cards left in hand. What can he really draw at this point to get out of this situation now? He's already at 8. There's 6 points of power in play and potentially more red spells in Simon's hand.
Yeah, so King Suleiman would help. He could also just pull a balance.
Yeah, it looks like balance maybe is the key. So with that in mind, do you think he should just chump block right here? And just chump block the Urnam, hoping to top deck balance?
If he figures that that's the only way out, then yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Oh, he's trading. Interesting. Okay, so he takes 4 damage. I guess that sort of gives him more long-term hope. He could top deck Plowshares now and at least get some degree of stability, yeah. So Dave draws a card. He's looking at the battlefield, and just like that, scoops it up.
Yeah,
Game 2
I suppose, would have helped as well, so unfortunately there.
Yeah, Game 2 is in the books.
But that makes it a more interesting match. And that was exactly what we were saying he needed to do. He needed to draw a large creature, and he needed to be able to remove utility, like you said. So I do feel like that Fireball might have been a little bit early, but, Pyrotechnics pulled him out.
Yeah, Pyrotechnics did indeed pull him out. And just that, it's funny how the game kind of snowballed. Imagine if he had kept the Samite Healer in play, or untapped and declined to deal 1 point of damage there. Having the ability to just heal indiscriminately could have really changed the math, really going forward from that point onward, right? Because he has to account for it. He can't do a proper Fireball split until he has way more mana, and that changes the board state substantially. And then the Pyrotechnics has to be treated differently as well, although ultimately he would have had to just shift and put 2 points on both Witch Hunter and 2 points on the Preacher because of the Samite Healer. But that one little innocuous card and that one attack could have actually shifted the momentum of the game. But we won't know what would have occurred otherwise. And we are now tied at 1 game apiece. And coming up, Game 3, Dave will be going first, and I'm looking forward to watching that, and looking forward to be joined in the commentary by Nate. And we will see you guys on the other side of that coming up very soon.
All right.